All right, everyone, here's a question. What do you call the British justice system? Unjust. Here we've got additional Tommy Robinson stuff to talk about. More hashtag free Tommy, basically. And by the way, I'm part of that. I believe that he should be totally free. In fact, he should be paid reparations from the British government for trying to kill him at this point. He apparently, in the last few days, he was first moved from a relatively, safe, secure facility to one which has more violent offenders in it, and also one in which 1 in 5 of the people there apparently, or sum total, is Islamic. Now, if you know anything about Tommy Robinson, you'll know his main thing. He's the founder of the EDL, and he opposes Islamofascism. His big thing is he doesn't like, grooming gangs and stuff. That's in fact why he's in prison, which no other person, if they were on the left and they had been reporting on one of these trials like Tommy Robinson was, the police only would have intervened to ask them to cross the road. They wouldn't have dragged them off and then said, well, you're going to prison for 13 months after a summary kangaroo court situation where you're not even represented by a lawyer. It was disgraceful, honestly. There's a reason why people around the world condemned it. It wasn't just limited to the UK. I think fewer British people care than Americans, probably. It's really, really funny. Well, not funny, but it's sad more. But so now he's in a facility where he might be killed at any given time. Meanwhile, there was another story, and this has happened before. There's a second link in the description, archived, of course. There was apparently a dude named Omar Mohammed, and he was actually at the Tommy Robinson protests, which is why it's linked. And he was protesting against the EDL. He was one of the counter-protesters, really. And he bashed a police sergeant in the face with his walking stick. Now, if you know anything about the UK's laws, that's pretty serious charges usually. If you attack another individual, it's like, oh, you attacked him with a butter knife, attempted murder, you go to prison for 10 years. Now, he gets probation. That is, he gets a suspended sentence. He won't have to go to prison. The court said, well, you're 62, you're not in the greatest health, which is he uses a walking stick, so obviously he's on death's doorstep, I guess. So we're just going to give you a suspended sentence. You haven't gone to prison before, you're a good character, so it's okay. Meanwhile, Tommy Robinson doesn't attack anyone, doesn't do anything violent, sits there with a fucking iPhone recording the front door of a court. And he goes to prison for 13 months, and now it looks like they're trying to Tower of London him or something. They're trying to get him killed. Increasingly, it looks like that. I would, of course, warning to the UK government, anyone with any sanity would say it would cause significant amounts of condemnation and instability if Robinson so much as get a broken nose while he's in prison over there. While he's in basically the concentration camp for wrong thinkers. Because it seems like people who engage in actual crime don't go to prison in Britain anymore. It seems like the only people who end up in your prisons there are people who are ideological enemies of the people. They have wrong-think opinions. Look, the British justice system is a joke. I see people from the UK, they're like, yes, but Robinson, what he did endangered the trial. Sequester any jury that's involved then, if you're worried about that. Why don't you do what we do here, so that people can report on it? Reporting restrictions, it's bullshit. And they tried to impose the same restrictions on the Tommy Robinson case itself thereafter. Oh, the press is not allowed to even say his name. They're not allowed to talk about the case. Why? They never gave any real reason for it. Then a couple days later, they lifted inexplicably, probably because they realized the gag order was causing it to go more viral than if they had allowed it to be reported on. You've turned Tommy Robinson into a martyr at this point. That much is clear. For the free speech movement, it's not EDL members or people who are they're rabidly anti-Islam. They're they hate the Quran, blaspheme all day. No. That's a slim minority of the people I'm seeing that are protesting against the Tommy Robinson being basically thrown in as a political prisoner. Most of us seem to be libertarians. Most of us are basically like the alt-tech creator crowd online. That's really the vanguard of free speech these days. A bunch of fucking, I sit here like a nerd with a webcam and I feel like I'm part of some actual political movement. It's actually quite interesting. And it's crazy what's happening in the UK. And again, it's happened before where you have in a short span of time, you'll have one person, they're put in prison for 6 months because they had too many butter knives. And then you had that one case where that imam was raping children and got no sentence at all. He got a suspended sentence. Why? Because his wife didn't understand English. And that was widely reported on at the time. And it shows The British legal system, it's like, what are you thinking? It's the exact opposite of common sense. Crimes that shouldn't be crimes at all are heavily prosecuted. Things that are relatively mundane, like, oh, told an offensive joke, wolf whistled at someone, that's like, 10 years in prison for wrongthink. Meanwhile, something where there's an actual significant victim, a police sergeant gets bashed in the face, gets practically disfigured, suspended sentence. Oh, it's no big deal. You're a good guy. You randomly attacked a police officer, but you're a good guy generally, so don't worry about it. It's water under the bridge. Just don't get violent again. Go and harm people no more. It doesn't make any sense. There's a reason I would never want to travel to most parts of Europe at this point. They probably wouldn't let me leave the airport if I showed up. They'd probably do what they did with Lauren Southern and declare me like an extremist or something, and not even let me visit the nation where my ancestry predominantly stems from. Meanwhile, if I went to Poland, nobody would give a fuck. It's like, yeah, go to Poland or Hungary, maybe Slovakia or something. I guess I'd probably be considered far left in some of these countries. You're not a Catholic and you don't care if people are gay? Oh my goodness, we're gonna beat you out in an alley with clubs. Meanwhile, you go to the UK and it's like you're labeled a Nazi. What gives? It doesn't make any sense. Europe is falling apart. Meanwhile, over here, we're having our own problems with things. Of course, some people try to draw a false equivalency. Like, there was that one dude, you remember? This was like, a few weeks before the Tommy Robinson stuff. I can't remember the name of the dude, but he was like yelling at a couple of black women on the bus and getting in their face and stuff. And he went to prison under hate crimes laws. And they were like, well, there was no victim here or whatever. No, if you are getting up and close and personal in a confined area that a person can't readily leave, and you are attempting to corner them and harassing them, yeah, that's a criminal act. Not specifically because he's white and he's yelling at black people, but it's different from Tommy Robinson sitting there with a fucking cell phone recording himself for an hour outside of a trial. It's totally different. One has a potential victim, the other doesn't. Forcing someone to listen to your spiel on a bus or a train or something is totally different from being out in the open where if someone's offended, they can just walk in the other direction. It's like, meanwhile, I find it funny. It's like I keep seeing people are like, well, you talk to Richard Spencer and stuff or about Tommy Robinson. It's like, how many of these people have ever randomly assaulted somebody? Generally zero. How many people in the alt-left do that? It seems like quite a few of them. Meanwhile, we're acting as a society like the former side is a grave danger, a grave threat to the existence of the free world, and the latter is just like, ho-hum, it's okay, it's just teens being teens and pretending to be punks from the 70s or something. It doesn't make sense anymore. No, Tommy Robinson should not only be freed, he should be given significant sums of reparations from the British government for wasting his time and attempting to get him assassinated, which appears to be what's happening with regards to that case. The British government essentially is illegitimate at this point. They're literally trying to block people on UK connections from watching anything related to Tommy Robinson. They've been actively suppressing this material cross-platform in coordination with YouTube and Twitter and other sites, and Facebook certainly. Oh, we've got to protect the British people from wrong-think opinions. We've got to make sure that they think that it's okay. This evil thug is in jail, so it's for the benefit of society if he gets randomly shanked, I guess. I'll bet you something. If another inmate decides to kill him in prison or beats him bloody or something, they will get less added to their sentence than Tommy Robinson's 13-month sentence. That's, I believe, what will happen. They probably wouldn't get an extra day at all. The British court would just say, oh, well, they were motivated by good reasons. They think, well, there's this Nazi here, punitive justice, vigilantism. We don't condone it, but we're just going to suspend your sentence, and, then we'll let you out early, probably. They'll probably try to pay someone to kill him in prison or something. Stranger things have happened. So it's moronism, really, at this point. That's about all. Peace out.